All right. So I invite you all to close your eyes and find a comfortable position. Maybe stretch your shoulders up, take in a big, deep breath, and then with an exhalation, just let it all drop down. Keep your back straight but soft. We want your posture to be held by the skeleton and not by the muscles feeling like you have to stay rigid to hold yourself upright. Take a few slow, deep breaths. And with each exhalation, feel gravity pulling you a little bit deeper into the chair. The first thing I would like you to do is to bring your attention to your hands and your arms. If your hands and your arms are lying on your legs or on a table or on anything else, see if you can feel the point of contact between where it seems like your arms are meeting some other object. At first, the mind will try to label this as pressure or contact. But notice if you pay attention to that area, if you can really tell where your arms end and your legs begin, or the arms of your chair begin, whatever they're making contact with. And while you're putting your attention on that area, notice if you have any images in your mind that show up that give you a picture of what your arms might look like in the posture that they're in right now. Take note if you can actually see an internal image of yourself sitting in this position right now. And just note that if your eyes are closed, any internal image that you have is just fantasy. It's not real. It's your mind's way of trying to make sense of the body's place in the world. So you can let those images be there, but you can also have a feeling of disinterest towards them, dismissing them, and just letting them be there without taking note of them in a way that makes it seem like there really is a body here. Bring the attention to the skin all the way around your arms and your hands. And just like we did with the pressure, note if you can feel where the skin seems to end and where the air or your clothing seem to begin. Watch as sensations change when you take the labels off of them and just allow them to be as they are. Notice if they start to feel gauzy, a little less substantial, even a little difficult to locate in space. Is your arm really where you thought it was? Or are those sensations just appearing in some sort of a cloud? Next, bring your attention down to your feet and your legs and your bottom pressing against your chair or your cushion. And to begin with, feel the point of most pressure. Feel where it seems to be the most substantial. And again, take off the label of pressure and see what is really there in your experience. Are you really feeling one object pressing against another? Can the sensation actually be described as pressure or tension? And again, notice how the longer you hold your attention on it, the more it changes, the less substantial it becomes, the less identifiable. If you can feel where the chair once was, notice if it's even appearing where you once thought that it was. Does it perhaps seem to actually be higher in space than it should be, according to your rational mind? Now take in the totality of your legs and your feet and your bottom. And just like you did with your arms and your hands, notice if there is any boundary between the skin and the air around it. Do you have any indication of where your legs begin or end? Now bring your attention to the torso and your chest. And if your back is leaning against the back of a chair, you can do the same thing as we did with your seat and with your arms. Feel the point of contact and remove the label of pressure. Remove any labels of tension or pain or discomfort that might arise on any of the sensations that you're finding. And with a feeling of curiosity, just look at what's there. See how these sensations really appear for you. Again, if you have images that show up that seem to indicate that you are still a body sitting in a certain position and that you are focusing on a certain part of your back or your belly or your chest, just let those images be, but recognize that they are not telling the truth about the situation. They're not describing the sensations that you are feeling. They're just a layer of thought. Come back to the raw sensations and see if you can feel anywhere in your torso that seems to be a solid entity, anywhere that seems to be disconnected from the air and the world around it. Lastly, bring your attention to your throat, your neck, and your head. Notice any points of pressure or tension, maybe muscle contractions, and just be with them. We don't need to label them as eye strain or jaw tension or a pain in my throat. Just recognize the pure sensation as it is. See if you have any indication with your eyes closed that you even have a head. This thing that we take to be the center of our experience, this place that so many of us consider to be me, the locus of all of our experience. With your eyes closed right now, can you even tell that this exists? Now take in the whole of your experience, the whole of what used to be a body, and see if it's now just a cloud of floating sensation. And see if you can recognize that that cloud of sensation is not even happening in one localized space. That cloud of sensation has no location if you don't use the orienting images that try to tie it into a body. Recognize that there is no reason to bind your experience to the confines of what you take to be a body. You can't feel where the skin begins and ends. So, for all you can tell, you are as big as the room that you are in. And with your eyes closed, how can you even tell that you're in a room? At this point in your experience, how can you tell that you are not all of existence itself? Is there any indication outside of thought that you are not all that exists? Now, I would like for you to scan through this whole of existence and see if anything for you appears to be a limited, small, individual self. If an image appears, just recognize it for the image that it is. Again, closed eyes cannot see anything, so it's only a thought. If a point of contraction still shows up, something that feels like tension, something that feels like a brightness or an intensity, just recognize that it's still sensation and see if there's anything about that sensation that screams out to you that it's a me. How could it possibly be known to be a me if it's just sensation? If it feels like there is still something that is aware, some knowing that's happening, recognize where in the experience that awareness is being felt. How is this knowing happening? If you can verbalize it, it's a thought. If you can see it, it's a thought. If it's something that you just feel in some way that you can't quite quantify, then it's being felt in the sense space of the body, or this space that once used to be a body. And recognize that it's just another layer of sensation. In our experience, what we take to be ourselves is nothing but a variety of images and thoughts and muscular contractions and motions in the body that all get taken together, and they're tied together in a way that creates this illusion of a self. And it's perfectly fine for those images and those thoughts and all of those sensations to still be there, but they no longer need to create that illusion. You can have a perfectly empty space with a few floating sensations in it and a few images darting from here to there, but it doesn't make a self. It only makes a continually changing experience, experienced by no one. And we're going to start coming back into the body and coming back into the room. But I don't want you to lose any of the insight that you might have had during this meditation. I don't want you to lose the sense of spaciousness. I don't want you to lose the openness of the unbinding that might have happened. So as you start to feel the seat again on the chair and your feet again on the floor, notice that these two ways of existing can coexist. You can feel a sense of grounding. You can feel a sense of solidity and reality in a world where you can function, but you can still recognize that there is no boundary in your experience, and there is no boundary of who it is that you take yourself to be. Feel your arms again on your legs. Feel the weight coming back into the body, but still feel that awareness, that aliveness that seems to extend beyond what you took to be the formal boundaries of the body. As you start to feel again the sensations in your face and your head, notice that even with the sensations there, it is still possible to feel that what you took to be the self located somewhere in that area is still vacant. There is still nothing there but sensations and small muscle movements. And in a moment, when you feel ready, you can begin to open your eyes. And I want you to notice as you start to open your eyes and let in a little bit of light, if it seems like a self is coming online, is there something about the visual experience which starts to orient you in a way that makes you feel like you are located in space again? It makes you feel like you are you sitting in a chair. And I want you to be very aware of any changes that happen so that you can recognize the difference between when you are in an open, expanded state that seems to be lacking in any self. And then when you come back to a contracted state where all of a sudden that self seems to be recapitulated. What is the difference between those two states? And notice that anything that happens in that contracted state is still an illusion of thought that creates something out of nothing. There is nothing that disappeared moments ago that is reappearing now. It's only a thought which is tying together different sensations and images. So slowly begin to open your eyes and see if you can maintain that same spacious openness of no self, even with the eyes fully open in the room. Take another deep breath. Thank you.